What if I told you that in the final seconds before death, people witness something so strange, so terrifying, or so beautiful that it changes everything we thought we knew about the afterlife? Some see angels, others see their worst nightmares, and some, they see something else, something they were never supposed to see. Stay till the end, because what I'm about to reveal will change how you see life and death forever. Dr. Elias Monroe, a respected neurologist, had been studying near-death experiences for over 20 years. But nothing prepared him for what happened when his own heart stopped for 3 minutes. When he woke up, he was screaming. He claimed to have seen the Watchers, tall, faceless figures standing at the edge of his vision, whispering in a language he couldn't understand. But here's the twist. Months later, he started seeing them again. While fully awake, firefighter Daniel Rhodes had been trapped in a burning building when a steel beam collapsed on him. As the flames licked at his skin, he suddenly found himself outside his own body, watching from above. But he wasn't alone. A woman in a black dress stood beside him, whispering, "Not yet." When he was miraculously pulled from the fire, he spent months recovering, until one night he saw her again, standing at the foot of his hospital bed. That's when he learned the horrifying truth. Every man she had ever appeared to had died within 7 days. Imagine being declared dead, only to wake up inside your own coffin. It happened to Richard Beaumont in 1921. He clawed at the wooden lid, screaming until gravediggers heard him and pried it open. But here's the strangest part. He didn't remember anything from his death, except a bright corridor and a single phrase whispered in his ear: "You were not meant to return." 5 years later, he vanished without a trace, leaving behind only a note that read, "I saw them again." A taxi driver in Japan picked up a young woman on a stormy night. She asked him to take her to a remote village. As they drove, she whispered, "I never made it home last time." When he turned to ask her what she meant, she was gone. The seat was cold. He later learned that the woman had died in a crash on that very road 1 year earlier. But the real twist: she wasn't the first passenger to disappear from that exact same seat. There is an old superstition that mirrors must be covered when someone dies, to prevent their soul from getting trapped. A nurse at an elderly care home ignored this tradition until one night she saw reflections of patients who had already passed, standing behind her, whispering. The next day, she found a single word written on the mirror's surface: "Tomorrow." And that night, she didn't show up for work ever again. Hospice workers often hear their patients say cryptic things before passing. They're here. It's so bright. The door is opening. But the most chilling case? A woman who sat up in bed and said, "Tell my son not to follow the light." Her son? He died in a car crash exactly 24 hours later. But here's the real mystery. How did she know? A dying man in a hospital whispered to his nurse, "Time isn't what you think it is." He then grabbed her wrist and said, "You'll see the red door soon. Don't go through it." She thought it was nonsense, until a year later, she had a near-fatal accident. As she was wheeled into surgery, she saw it. A red door in the hospital hallway. Remembering the man's words, she shut her eyes. When she woke up, the door was gone. But those who walked through it never returned. Many near-death experiences describe a tunnel with a bright light. But some, they see something different. One man who drowned described a tunnel that led not to light, but to darkness. He said he saw shadowy figures clawing at the walls, screaming. He fought to return to life. But before he woke up, one of the figures whispered, We will meet again." 2 weeks later, he died in his sleep, with a look of absolute terror on his face. A woman was pronounced dead after a heart attack, but was revived after 10 minutes. When she woke up, she was crying. She claimed she had lived another full life during those 10 minutes, married, had children, and then died again of old age. But here's the terrifying twist. When doctors checked her brain activity, they found something impossible. Memories that weren't hers. A scientist who had spent his life debunking the supernatural suddenly changed his mind on his deathbed. His final words: "I was wrong. It's real. It's all real." But before anyone could ask what he meant, he was gone. His last research notes contained a single phrase, written over and over: "They're watching." A family moved into an old house and found an old photograph of a little girl in the attic. That night, their daughter woke up screaming, saying she saw the girl standing at the foot of her bed. They locked the photo away, but every morning, it was back on the dresser. One night, the father had enough. He burned the photo, but the next morning, it was right there, untouched, with a new detail. The girl was smiling now. What do you think happens in those final moments? Do we see the afterlife? A glitch in reality? Or something much darker? Let me know in the comments. And if you want to unlock more secrets of the unknown, hit that subscribe button right now. Because here on Mind Control, we dive into the mysteries no one else dares to explore.